In this episode of Falmouth in Focus, we speak to a Ukrainian Museum Director about her efforts to save art in a war zone. Celebrate diversity at the Annual Falmouth Multicultural Fair, featuring performances by the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe. And we stop by the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce's annual awards dinner to celebrate the Citizen of the Year. All this and much more on this edition of Falmouth in Focus. Hello and welcome to Falmouth in Focus, FCTV's current affairs program. I'm Eileen Preston, filling in for Michael Kasparian.
And I am Queen Kaberi Banda.
And we now bring you a story that has appeared on social media and local news about dead striped bass being found in the estuaries of Great Pond and Wacoyet Bay.
Yes, the Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries has determined that the fish died because they gorged themselves too heavily on cinder worms that recently spawned in the area.
Cinder worms are small aquatic worms that live in the mud of salt ponds and estuaries, with springtime spawning events lasting about 2 to 4 weeks. When many of these worms spawn simultaneously, they can choke out the stripers.
And that's exactly what happened. They said that the fishes that they observed were fully engorged with the worms, and the worms were also found in the fish's gills, essentially suffocating them.
Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries stated that this occurrence is not entirely uncommon. They noted that the dead fish have been turning up in Falmouth for at least a week, so the event could already be coming to an end. If the fish keep dying, the DMF will continue to investigate.
The Massachusetts Department of Transportation held 2 public meetings to discuss the Cape Cod Canal Bridge replacement project on Wednesday, May 17th.
The meetings, which included an open house, were held at the Bourne Veterans Memorial Community Center. Mass DOT presented updates on the bridge replacement project, which includes environmental work, location, and funding.
Our friends at Bourne Community were kind enough to share this footage of the event.
So Mass DOT, in partnership with the Army Corps of Engineers, recently filed a environmental notification form. It's one of the required environmental filings with the MEPA office, that's the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act office, and that document was published online in the MEPA Environmental Monitor on May 10th. And so this event is a follow-up to that. To present the material that's in that document, as well as all the material that's been presented at previous public meetings, and really allow the public an opportunity to come in, engage the project team, see live what it is that's being proposed, the work that's been done, and ask any questions that they may have, to be informed, to participate in environmental review and continued development of our alternatives.
Great. So following today's event, I see that folks are walking around and asking questions. You have a huge team here answering those questions, which is fantastic. Thank you. What are the next steps?
So as far as the intent of today, for the MEPA filing, the next step would be for any member of the public to review, consider, ask questions on any of the material that's here, and then formulate any comments that they might have, and put those comments in writing, either electric via email or the comment tool that the MEPA office has, and provide comments or ask questions of the MEPA office. And those questions or comments and input is going to inform our next environmental document that will be a draft environmental impact report. And the comments that we receive as part of today will inform what the scope will include for that larger environmental document.
Okay, and I know that we've had several Zoom webinars prior to this. Will we be expecting another such event following with the comments received and the outcomes of those MEPA filings?
There will certainly be more opportunity for public engagement. I'm not exactly sure when the next meeting will occur, but by all means, absolutely, as well as all our environmental documents being filed going forward, all open for public review and comment. That's encouraged, it's welcome. We want to encourage that feedback to better inform what our eventual preferred alternative is going to look like, to make the best project that we can.
This program will include the replacement of the Bourne and Sagamore bridges, provide new connections to the local roadway network, and improve multimodal accommodations with the Cape Cod Canal area.
Thank you to our colleagues Jennifer McGrail, Director of Operations, and Elaine Orphans, Creative Director at Bourne Community TV, for that story. It's time now for FCTV's condensed version of the takeaways from recent municipal meetings. Selections are chosen based on community impact. The Select Board met in a regular session and began by welcoming newly elected member Robert Miscali. On the agenda, Finance Director Ed Santeo told the board that the town is currently owed $2.5 million in unpaid property taxes and presented a new accelerated approach to collect the unpaid tax money. He noted that collected revenues might finance critical Falmouth needs, like housing.
This is a chart just showing the growth of the tax titles over the years. Right now we're at $2.5 million, but it's grown dramatically since 2004. We've done some analysis of the properties, 29 residences or properties that are non-residents, folks that don't live in this property. It's their second home, or it could be a rental property. We tried to capture that, because we want to be sensitive to not, if somebody has a long-term lease, we want to be sensitive not to, disrupt that particular situation as well. 25 that are homeowners, $811,000. Homeowners with P.O. boxes, or people that have P.O. boxes in the town of Falmouth, we want to consider them just as though they're homeowners until we know otherwise. One commercial property, land of low value, are properties that are land only, unbuildable, $24,804 or less in value. 75 of those, these are the ones that might be very difficult to collect on. And that amount is a mere $80,000, not too bad. Land over the land of low value, 64 properties, $664,000 for a total of $2.5 million. Can we piece together those categories of property to try to look for affordable housing, drainage, anything related to wastewater, any recreational opportunities, et cetera? We would do this process very sensitively and not try to push anybody out of their homes where this is their primary home. Generating more revenue and having people routinely pay their taxes is important to the well-functioning government.
The board agreed with this new accelerated revenue collection approach and requested a progress report in 6 months. To see the meetings in their entirety, check out Government Channel 15's program schedule at fctv.org.
And now moving on, the Falmouth Veterans Services Department held its annual Memorial Day ceremony at Peg Noonan Park this past Monday morning. Falmouth citizens showed up for the ceremony in large numbers, as they typically do, to support those who paid the ultimate price in defense of our country.
After the break, we will sit down with the director of a nonprofit trying to save Ukrainian art and culture in the midst of a war. Stay with us.
Welcome back.
On International Museum Day, Heritage Museums and Gardens hosted a special talk on Ukrainian art and culture by Deputy Director of the Odessa Fine Arts Museum, Oleksandra Kovalchuk.
Kovalchuk is also a leader at the NGO Museum for Change, working to preserve Ukrainian artwork and cultural artifacts. We spoke with her to learn more about her efforts.
Museum for Change was an NGO that was supposed to help Ukrainian museums to build relationships with the communities. As most of the Ukrainian museums had a very short history of being museums of independent country. And it was important to show the way it is done here in the United States, where museums are loved and cherished. The thing is that as invasion started, international organizations that actually focus on saving art during all kinds of emergencies, starting from flooding, fires, or conflicts and wars. And they immediately started looking for local NGOs and local leaders of local communities that would be ready to do this work, to provide this support to institutions. But now we served more than 60 cultural institutions, and the total amount of funds that we helped directed to face their needs is above 1.5 million euro. Us and a couple other organizations, we try to protect public monuments, monuments in public spaces. It's hard because sometimes we do not know how, for example, sandbags would affect the statue. And you can see in Ukraine all the statues around all the monuments are covered with sandbags or with sarcophagus on top of it. And we can one of the options is to make sure that we store all of the pieces if it's hit. Basically, the number one goal is to have all of the pieces in one place. Yes, to put it, to conserve it, to restore it then. And by now, more than 1,500 cultural sites, religious buildings that are cultural sites, have been completely destroyed by Russia, by missiling. Unfortunately, museums were targeted too. We've lost at least three museums completely, and unfortunately one of them with people inside. Ukrainian museums are not equipped with the systems that would put down fires. So if any Ukrainian museum is hit or a missile is hit above the museum and it starts to burn, it will burn. If there is a direct hit, it will be destroyed. And we see that even now, for those collections that are hidden, and we have more than 20 million objects in Ukrainian collections, they are stored in a not appropriate condition. And that is an additional damage that we will be able to calculate and to analyze only when it is over. And Ukrainian collections, these 20 million objects, we have to remember that those are not Ukrainian, and that art is not ethnic. Art is broader, and we have all kinds of art in Ukrainian collections. We have art of all of the world in our collections, and that is also part of our culture. So the only way to preserve it is to stop Russia. And here the best way to do it is to provide all support and aid to Ukraine that is possible.
You can find more information about Museum for Change on their website at museumforchange.org.ua. And you can catch her full presentation on Ukrainian art and culture here on FCTV.
We now take you inside Relief Recovery Center, a recently opened clinic on 15 Carlson Lane, working with people struggling with substance use disorders.
I was able to speak with one of the co-founders, Nathan Costa, regarding addiction and the journey towards recovery. In this interview, Nathan shares his personal struggles with alcohol and substance use and what he says was able to help him achieve long-term recovery.
From your own personal experiences and struggles with substance use, what do you say maybe lacks and what works? Have we narrowed it down to a science?
So, you know, it's interesting that you say that. Like, you know, to this day, there's nothing that has been like 1,000% proven or pinpointed that we have this. So with that being said, like, this is going back to the old school way, you know, what they have said, and this is what I've brought into my own program, and what they have said, that there was a spiritual malady, right? Basically, I have a hole in my soul, and I try to fill it with other things, right? For myself, what I've been able to do through the 12-step process is remove all of those problems, right? Remove the trauma, remove the pain, remove the sadness, the depression, all these other feelings and emotions and thoughts and theologies and all that other stuff, and really get down to having a connection with my higher power, who I choose to call God. And that has been what has led me to success. The key to recovery is enlarging your spiritual life, and that's what I've been able to do through this process.
How does one determine they have an addiction or they have a problem with whatever they're using, whatever it may be, whether it's alcohol or drugs, you name it?
Yeah, right. To get right down to brass tacks, like, are you using against your will, right? Typically, if you think you have a problem, you probably have a problem, right? That's first. Second, if you're like, hey, I'm not going to drink, well, okay, and you start drinking, then why? If it's weed, then why is it that you can't stop, and why is it that you can't stay stopped?
And there's a lot of stigma, even to this day, regardless all what we know about it. Where do you think the disconnect is, and how can we fix it?
Yeah, so really, really interesting question. I've experienced this I've experienced this in Falmouth firsthand. I've experienced it everywhere I've ever been. Including being in recovery. Like there's a saying my sponsor uses with me, like, we're not responsible for being an alcoholic, we're responsible for doing something about it, you know what I mean? And I think it's really tough for people who haven't experienced that to really understand what that person's going through, how they're feeling. Like the empathy is not there. There's a mental obsession, physical compulsion, the phenomenon of craving. It's chronic, which means I'll never not be an alcoholic or an addict, right? I will die an alcoholic or an addict. I either will live with this disease or die from it, one or the other. And right now I'm choosing to live with it, right? If I could ask anything of the Falmouth community, is just have an open mind, to the fact that that's somebody's child and that they need help too. And that there's a possibility that if you give them time to grow and change and evolve, that they're actually going to.
Relief Recovery Center treats substance use disorders and co-occurring disorders such as depression, stress-related disorders, and eating disorders.
For more information, please visit WeWantRelief.com. Moving on, they say when you love what you do, you never work a day.
Oh, yes, it is true. And it's definitely true for Chuck Sturtevant, who retired last year after dedicating 36 years for both the Cape Cod Baseball League and the Falmouth Commodores.
Over the years, Chuck held multiple positions, from serving as a general manager to the league executive board member.
I recently sat down with the legendary Chuck to ask him what kept him committed over 3 decades and how far the league has come since its inception in 1923. What was the vision back then, and how has that vision either changed or grown with the league?
My priority was, number one, for the benefit of the ball players that came here. That was critical to me. And that's one of the reasons I hired Jeff Trundy. His motivation, my motivation, was to make the players the best they could be and to have a great experience, go back to school, and whatever happens in their pro career will happen. Hopefully we had a little bit of contribution to that. As I got older and more involved in the league part, it was to grow the league. Well, when I retired, our budget was almost $3 million for all 10 teams and the league. And that's significant when you think we only get $107,000 from Major League Baseball. And so everything else is through our local sponsorships and so forth. And without them, we just could not survive.
So could you talk to us maybe about some of the work that you feel appealed to the community and helped you even grow this league to what it is today?
Well, I think because, number one, what we provide the fans is top quality baseball. It's the best summer baseball league in the country. Matter of fact, I believe it was 14 years ago, Congress declared the Cape Cod Baseball League America's hometown league. That's how important we are to the baseball community and hopefully to all the communities where we have a team in. And it just has grown. That's what we want to grow. And having Bob and the Commodores with all the different interreactions with different clubs in town and groups, that's what it's all about.
But what about the game? Tell me, what about the game makes your eyes all twinkle?
Just the opportunity of seeing some of the players perform to the level that I say that kid's going to be in the majors. And matter of fact, a couple of years ago, there was a young man from Texas A&M, Zach Deloche, and he played for Falmouth. And I said to him, I watched you now for, I think, half the season. And I said, you could be the next Darren Erstead. And because I always felt, and Peter Gammons just confirmed it, Darren Erstead was probably the best player that ever played in the Cape League. And this kid showed me so much that I really do think he has the potential of being there. And right now I believe he's in AA with the Seattle Mariners team, and he could be called up very soon. Wow. So I'm anxious to see that happen. But seeing that progression, that's when you feel as proud as a peacock.
Chuck says he hopes that the community of Falmouth will continue to support the team by attending the games and getting involved with the league.
We recently paid a visit to Highfield Hall and Gardens to check out their latest exhibits. No Blue, No Green by local artist Sven Atima and Entanglements by Maine artist Nancy Grice, which are currently on display in Highfield Hall's second floor galleries.
I have two artists showing their work. One lives currently in Woods Hole, is from Woods Hole. The other lives in Maine and has split her time between Maine and New Zealand. Neither of these artists ever met each other, but I found that their art really complements one another. So I thought it would work well to show both in the house for the spring. I saw his work and I said, how about we do a show just with your work? And he was happy with that. And he does do sculpture and everything, but we are only showing his paintings and his drawings, so his two-dimensional work. But it's, I think, incredibly unique. And he has a take on the environment and environmental issues that he visually renders in a way like I've never seen before. So I was able to have about 12 of her paintings, and her work is very much non-representational, and you could say abstract to some degree, but it is actually, through her eyes, looking at nature through a very different lens, let's say, than how she used to look at it. So she's looking at on a subatomic level of nature. So her work, which the whole show is called Entanglement, and that references quantum physics. So all of her pieces have some relationship to different ideas of motion and energy and quantum physics. Like I said, Nancy's looking at nature on a subatomic level, and Sven is looking at it from a totally macro level, like the ocean as one element and how it is the counterbalance to the rest of the world when we're out of whack. So his emphasis in his work, it is more representational, but in a very surreal way. He uses motifs over and over again. You'll see repeated motifs, I should put it that way. And they relate to the atmosphere, water, and soil. And he's always playing with those concepts and how they kind of balance each other out. And there's a lot of, like I said, repeated motifs, but telling potentially different stories, whether it's about our past or about our potential future. And the importance of having, well, I should say that the title of the show is No Blue and No Green. No Blue, No Green, and that means without the ocean, we can't have the rest of what we have on this planet.
Both exhibits, Entanglement and No Blue, No Green, will be on display at Highfield Hall and Gardens through June 11th. Thanks to Bob Fenstermaker for that story.
After the break, we will look at an annual food drive that the Falmouth Service Center took part in recently. Welcome back. The Falmouth Service Center participated in the Postal Food Drive in May, where residents were able to leave canned and boxed goods for letter carriers to pick up on their mail route.
The postal workers then brought that food to locations such as the Falmouth Service Center, who were able to fill their shelves with much needed food for the public.
Today is the National Letter Carriers Union Food Drive. It is everybody across the country is leaving food out by their mailboxes, and then is picked up by your local letter carrier and brought to the food pantry nearest you. So here in Falmouth, all the food is coming here to the Falmouth Service Center. The Service Center has taken part in this for as long as I think we've been here. When I first started in 2009, we used to get about 11 tons of food. Last year we got about 5.5 tons of food. So it's a big push for additional items. This year we had an extra grocery list of needed items, which has been great. Like I've seen a ton of apple juice coming in, which is something we really needed, a lot of diapers coming in. So we count it by carts. It's like 10 bags in every cart. And the last time I looked, we had about 16,000 pounds of food had already come in. So yeah, and I know more has come in since I last looked. Oh, so people leave the food on their mailboxes, and the postal workers bring it by at the end of their route. So right now it's about 3:30, 4 o'clock, and we're getting truck after truck after truck delivering food. It's very exciting. We have a lot of volunteers here, processing the food, checking it in. So when the food comes in, we sort it into sort of soft and hard. So hard is like a can of soup, and then soft is like a box of cereal, things you don't want to get crushed. And then we date check every single thing that comes in because we don't want expired food going out to our clients. So we just make sure everything is in code, and then they're putting everything in milk crates for easy storage. And then it'll go, usually the food lasts about 3 weeks. Yeah, so we save milk crates, and then we sort the food. We ask for a number of key items that's getting sorted first. We have a sort for cereal and pasta and soup. And all the food that comes in will last us generally about 3 weeks, and it's additional items that clients can pick up when they come for food. So we're very grateful to the letter carriers because not only are they delivering your mail today, but they're also picking up food, they're loading their trucks, they're coming by to drop it all off. It's just a great community effort, and it's nice to know how many people in the community care and left food out by their mailboxes. So it's just a great event.
To catch past episodes featuring the Service Center, please visit fctv.org. Thanks to Seth Harrington for that story.
The annual Falmouth Multicultural Fair returned last month, featuring drumming and dancing from the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe, food, arts, crafts, music and games, and so much more.
Yes, I spoke with Ms. Bethany Gay from the Coalition for Children and one of the event's organizers about this annual local tradition.
So this is our 4th year. We had 2 years that we did at St. Barnabas. We had to take a year off because of COVID, and then we've now moved it to the Falmouth Public School District, and we've had it at Mullen Hall the last 2 years.
Beautiful. So what was the goal of the Multicultural Fair, and how has the program grown maybe with the need or what you were able to observe for the past 4 years?
Our goal was really just to celebrate all of the people in our community and all the countries that they represent. A great way to showcase for people to learn, and giving people an opportunity to see who's in their community.
And how has that been like? So what have you observed? How do people react, the kids react?
One of the things when I walked out is I just saw everyone had smiles on their face. Like, it was really exciting that way. The 13 countries that we had, they brought all of their resources and shared all their information, and in such a fun way that I think appreciation of everybody's cultures and was represented.
I wonder maybe what was different this year, if there is a way maybe the fair grown or you introduced a new element.
So this year we had a lot of people. We estimated about 325. I think last year we were about 225. Let's see. This year the Multicultural Fair drew not only families in our district, but also people in our community, all different ages. So it was more inclusive of the community.
What are your plans for this fair moving forward? Can we call it a local tradition? Is it going to be here next year?
We hope so.
For those who will be listening to you and maybe they are familiar with the fair or they are not, how can we best support you?
I think that if there's other people that want to represent in their countries, we'd love to have you. We would love any community input. Again, this is a team, and it's a team of community members, it's a team of coalition staff, it's a team of Falmouth Public School District employees, and anybody else who wants to be involved. We would love to have you, and that's what it's all about.
Anything you want to add that I didn't ask you?
For more information, you can reach the Coalition for Children. Our website is www.thecoalitionforchildren.org.
The event is sponsored by the Coalition for Children and Falmouth Public Schools. The Coalition for Children is a grant-funded education and support program for families in Falmouth and Mashpee.
And speaking of local traditions, the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce honored another great citizen during this year's annual award dinner.
Reverend Nell Fields of the Wacoit Church was celebrated during the dinner for her tireless work as a defender and advocate for those without a voice. I was at the dinner and I spoke with Michael Kasparian, the Chamber's president, and the honoree herself, Ms. Fields.
Every year, the Board of Directors of the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce honor an individual within the community that goes above and beyond what they normally do for work on behalf of others. And, you know, every year it's really competitive. We can have up to 20 nominees every year. There are applications or nominations come in from people in the community, and it's always very challenging to select somebody because so many people give of their time. And this year, you know, Nell just... the breadth of what she did outside of her role as the pastor of the Wacoit Congregational Church just spoke volumes, and she was selected by the Board of Directors, and it's an honor to honor someone like her.
As you know, tonight we celebrate an outstanding citizen who over time has exemplified the very attributes we seek to honor. A person well known to many for her professional accomplishments and widespread contributions to the betterment of society. She is a model citizen, admired and esteemed for successfully balancing her devotion to family and friends with years of professional integrity and tireless civic participation, helping people along the way, in many cases, quietly and without fanfare or recognition. Please welcome to the lectern our outstanding Citizen of the Year, Reverend Nell Fields.
It's very humbling to be recognized by my peers, but at the same time, I do not go this way alone. Everything that I have done for this community has been in community with many fabulous organizations that are represented here. But I sometimes wonder if I'm going to wake up and I'm in the 3rd grade. I never dreamed this, but it is such an honor.
Whereas Reverend Nell Fields' many accomplishments and contributions, singularly and collectively, are memorialized in the minds of those she has touched and chronicled on the pages of organizations across this town. And as she continues to make a difference in the town of Falmouth, we do hear and declare that this citizen is worthy of high praise and great recognition. We, Nancy R. Taylor, Andrei Scott Price, Douglas C. Brown, Edwin Scott T. Zielinski II, and Robert P. Miscali, as members of the Select Board of the Town of Falmouth, by the authority vested in us, do proclaim Reverend Nell Fields, Falmouth's 2023 Outstanding Citizen of the Year.
This silver bowl may have my name on it, but if you hold it up to the light in a certain way, you will see your own name etched in it as well. All of you are here. Thank you for this honor, and thank you for being on this journey with me. I am deeply grateful, and my heart is filled with love. Amen. I'm motivated by 2 things. I'm motivated by gratitude and love, and that is how I operate in this town. If I see somebody who needs a hand, then I help them. If I see an organization that is doing something and if I can help them, I'm doing that as well. You know, this is a great town and we still have a lot of work to do, and it gives me meaning.
Ms. Fields says that the COVID-19 pandemic helped broaden her understanding of the vast need for resources and help within our community.
FCTV wants to remind you that television can be as easy as hitting record on your smartphone.
We'd like to invite all Falmouth residents and visitors to share their slice of life with us.
Email us your photos and videos or upload them to Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram using the hashtag MyFalmouth or Falmouth in Focus to be featured on the show. Thank you to our most recent contributors.
We leave you now with the sights and sounds of the recent Rhododendron Festival at Heritage Museums and Gardens. Thank you for watching Falmouth in Focus. We'll see you next time.